Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another mini-cast. I have titled this one, Social Media's User Reputation Score, because we're going to be looking at how not only Facebook, but all across social media, we're now going to be seeing them deploy these algorithms. That's right, you're getting a score based on how you're using your social media. This is beyond authoritarian. This is beyond 1984. This is exactly what the New World Order wanted. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. I don't want to mince words. You know, an article came out today and it is making headlines. It's making rounds around, news. Everybody's picking up on it. The fact that Facebook's secret user reputation score has been exposed. Now, before we get into this article, I want to pull up some previous articles that we have on our website that you guys can go look at that kind of illustrate this. In between the break of Season 6 and Season 7, I did a quick mini-cast called Neo-Feudalism, New Social Contracts, and Health-Based Manipulations with some of your guys' questions. I'll put the link for that in the description bar below, but I talk about that, the concept of new social contracts. That's exactly what we're going to look at. Because this is social engineering on such a wide scale, it's crazy. You're literally looking at how technology has embedded itself into our life to where now we are going to gauge other individuals. This has been done in Black Mirror, and this is them basically trying to foreshadow our future. But moving on to another article right here on the 20th of March, earlier this year, I did a quick mini-cast called the Technocratic Social Credit Systems, where they debuted it, where they talked about it towards the end of last year. December 19th, 2017, a report came out from True News. It says that China is experimenting with social ranking scores. We'll get into all this stuff later on, too, because it's important. But what I'm trying to do is set the base. December 11th, China's social credit score system will rate how valuable you are as a human. Why are we talking about this? Because this is the technocracy on steroids. Okay, what we have to understand is that these people literally are using, as I keep saying, algorithmic adversity, using all these different tactics to try to monitor our behavior, manufacture our consent, create what seems like individuality when really they're just having us move in tandem, move along, move in parallel with the system that they're trying to create. But with that being said, let me get into this right here. Facebook's secret user reputation score exposed. This has been put up by the Anti-Media, which is a repost from the Zero Hedge. It's by Tyler Durden. I put this up August 21st. It says, in a hideous reflection of China's already prevalent social credit system, which is a rating assigned to each citizen based on government data regarding their economic and social status, the Washington Post report that Facebook has begun to assign its user a reputation score, predicting their trustworthiness on a scale from 0 to 1. Under the guise of its efforts to combat fake news, Washington Post reports, citing an interview with Lyons, the product manager who is in charge of fighting misinformation, that the previously unreported rating system, which Facebook has developed over the last year, has evolved to include measuring the credibility of users to help identify malicious actors. Users' trustworthiness scores between 0 and 1 isn't meant to be an absolute indicator of a person's credibility, Lyons told the publication, nor is there a single unified reputation score that users are assigned. Quote, one of the signals we use is how people interact with articles. Lyons said in a follow-up interview or in a follow-up email, quote, for example, if someone previously gave us feedback that an article was false and the article was confirmed false by a fact checker, then we might weigh that person's future false news feedback more than someone who indiscriminately provides false news feedback on lots of articles, including ones that end up being rated as true. The score is one measurement among thousands of behavioral clues that Facebook now takes into account as it takes to understand risk. Quote, I like to make the joke that if people only reported things that were actually false, this job would be so easy, said Lyons in the interview. People often report things that they just disagree with, which is why we offend a lot of people with the stuff that we post. But how these new credibility systems work is highly opaque. Not knowing how Facebook is judging us is what makes us uncomfortable, said Claire Waddle, director of First Draft Research Lab within the Harvard Kennedy School that focuses on the impact of misinformation and is a fact-checking partner of Facebook. of the efforts to assess people's credibility. Now, before I continue on, I think people really need to understand what this means. Okay, you have people who you cannot even see judging you. I can't tell you how many times, we've had posts deleted. We've had people say, "Oh, I don't agree with this. Oh, you're fake news. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist." Like Tessa Lyons said, we're literally having to deal with actual information versus how people feel. And what they're doing now is they're using a combination of fact checkers and AI to not only distinguish what's a joke, what's sarcasm, what's factual, what's a hyperbole, whatever. You see, they're using all these different types of things to basically sit up over here and manipulate people's opinions. Now, we've talked about this before. The fact that in the UK they're deploying a misinformation army, and all over the world they actually have their different ways. In Russia, they're trying to combat fake news by providing people with fines. All kinds of different ways are people trying to combat this, but you see China and America going down the route of something that's basically something that's far beyond 1984, George Orwell's 1984, far beyond the Minority Report. What we're really seeing is the installation of this authoritarian dictatorship. You see, this is what I mean by the technocracy. This is what I mean by the New World Order. And I think everybody understands that this is the mark of the beast style system. That phone that you have right now, that I'm sure you're listening to me on, or if not, your computer, this device has, as I keep trying to reiterate, more influence than your government, than your parents, and sometimes more influence than yourself. Now, if we have unknown accusers who are behind the scenes, who are literally acting like clockwork elves, or Matt Damon's The Adjustment Bureau characters, the agents behind the scenes who are sitting there guiding things, are we free? You see, one of the questions that people are starting to ask these days is, can we have free speech on these social media platforms? No, we cannot, because it's not free speech. Could it be that we have to pay for internet, and then we have to pay for the device, we have to pay for the service? It's a service. You see, it's not free. And whenever we abide by these types of things, we're playing in their playpen. They have the ability to engineer us, to filter what they see. That's why, even though this is the case, we are so important. That's why we need more people in this field, or at least in this fight, to spread awareness. There have been fake news fines in Russia. The whole Facebook stock plunging thing, this is for them to come after with something else. We have to understand the depths at which these people are operating. Let me get back into this article. It says, quote, "But the irony is that they can't tell us how they're judging us. Because if they do, the algorithms that they built will be gamed." This all sounds like something ominously like the Orwellian China social credit system, which in addition to blocking the flights and trains, the Global Times noted that the names of those who with low social credit scores had been shamed on a public list, said Meng Wei, a spokeswoman for the National Development and Reform Commission via news website ChinaNews.com. Those on the list could be denied loans, grants, and other forms of government assistance, Wei added. She's right, because in China, and I remember reporting on this on one of the minicasts or an episode, in China, they have blocked over 1 million different flights from people who have had bad social credit scores. You can't send your kids to certain schools if you have a certain credit score. You can't apply for certain loans if you have a bad social credit score. And this is what they're trying to do. It's kind of like a Pavlovian experiment, to where they send you shock treatment to kind of get your mind thinking right. They want to boost your brain power, but only in the way that you're abiding by their system. You see, we have to understand the ways that these people are operating. Like I said, you have people in the background that you cannot even identify that are manipulating your behavior, that are modifying the population. Whose phrase? Well, and this is the type of stuff that we really have to understand. When these people are doing these types of things, they're not trying to actually advance us. They're not actually trying to give us the benefit of the doubt, so to speak. What they're trying to do is manipulate us. But let me get back into this. It says, whose phrase that the discredited people become bankrupt makes the point. but is an oversimplification. Xi Jinping, a legal expert at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in Beijing, told the Global Times, quote, how the person is restricted in terms of public services or business opportunities should be in accordance with how and to what extent he or she has lost their credibility. Quote, the punishment should match the deed. Discredited people deserve legal consequences. This is definitely a step in the right direction to building a society with credibility. Many observers have likened China's social credit system to that shown in Netflix's Black Mirror episode Nosedive, in which a world where people can rate each other from 1 to 5 stars for every interaction they have. And this is what happens if we're not able to delete our Facebooks. This is what happens if we're not able to delete our social medias. You know, it'll start on things like Facebook. It'll start on all these seemingly innocent platforms, and then it'll spread. You see, what happens whenever they literally dictate what you're able to say, how you're able to feel, who you're able to contact with, and everything else. This is the point. You see, this is what I mean by them building the matrix. There are depths to how these people are trying to operate, but if we're not able to see that, then we literally fall for the trap that they're creating. Earlier this week, let me see if I can get this up for you guys. Earlier this week, we had put up a clip about how these people over here at 3 Square Market are injecting themselves with microchips. Now, they're using near-field communication, RFID microchips. This is a massive deal because this is, if you ask me, the forerunner for the Mark of the Beast style system. Let's see if we can get this clip up for you guys. It says right here, a U.S. company is injecting RFID microchips into its employees, and they love it. Again, as I said before, this is a massive step for them trying to indoctrinate the population. This Wisconsin technology firm, 3 Square Market, has injected 80 of their employees with their own brand of RFID chips. Basically, we're talking about how these people are they're throwing themselves into the system. They're aware of what's happening, and they're willingly going into it. Obviously, issues. Obviously, going to have issues playing something as influential as this. The chips are implanted between the index finger and the thumb. It allows employees to open doors, log on to computers, and buy snacks with a wave. 3 Square Market is a technology company based in Wisconsin. They specialize in vending machines. About half of their employees got microchipped. This technology is already widely available in Europe. In Sweden, the chips are used as train tickets. Pets, livestock, and eggs, brand deliveries are also tagged. 3 Square Market hopes the technology will catch on. But not all of 3 Square Market's employees were so eager to experiment. And I agree. Basically what you're seeing right now is how they're trying to tag livestock, how they're basically trying to treat us as if we are just cattle, chattel, slaves, goyim, as they say, creatures that they can just move around. And this is what happens. This is how it all works together. The social credit system, the microchips, the technocracy, the social media, this is all how it works in together. This is the new world order that they want to have. They want to be able to have you in their system so that you can only buy and sell everything inside of that system. This is why they're trying to get rid of money so that they can have the cashless society. People don't understand how monumental it is to have something like Facebook come out saying, hey, guess what? We are now going to have a user reputation score. You are now going to be gauged on what you like, what you share, how you comment, and these features are what's going to give us a good understanding of you. This is what I mean by the metadata. This is what I mean by understanding the times that we are in. These people seek nothing but control. These are the technocrats. All right, yeah. So I'll put some of the links to the articles in our description bar below, so you guys can check it out. Because it's important that we stay up to date on these types of things, like the technocratic social credit systems. Unfortunately, YouTube has deleted some of our videos, so you guys have the luxury of going back and listening to some of those broadcasts and reading some of those articles. I'll make sure to put that in the description bar below. But however, that's all I really have for you guys. I know I went over a lot. I hope you're seeing what is happening. And as time goes, I'm sure we'll start to figure out different solutions. But this is it. We are here. This is what I mean by the mark of the beast system, and this is what I mean by the New World Order. These people are literally creating a system, building the matrix around us so that we can have this autonomous society, one that they can just inject stimuli into and then weed out the distance. These days, things are getting kind of crazy. But like I said, that's all I really have for you guys and gals. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys and gals, stay vigilant. Expose lies and share truth. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, out.